I don't know. You know, he might. I mean, still in it out. Jessica's doing the first part. She's doing Christmas. I'm doing the second part.
What's up, guys? Supposed to have Trump and Mamdani coming out for a press conference here in the next 10 minutes. Give me just a sec, just getting everything up for the stream. All right, this should be interesting. We'll see what these two have to say. Hopefully the audio on this feed will be good. Otherwise I'll have to flip over feeds. Hope everybody's having a good day. We'll see what they have to say. I don't know how... I don't know. Mamdani seems to have some pretty wild viewpoints, but at least, you know, good on Trump for, actually, meeting with him and stuff and not just calling him a loon. Like a lot of people probably would. But they're supposed to be out here in the next 5 minutes, so we'll see what happens.
Congratulations, Mr. Mayor. I'm so sorry about all this. Up there I have something. People do. Will they open the oval? Yeah, they're in. They're lined up. Will the pool go in?
About 4 minutes out from when it should start. I'm really interested to see the stuff that Zohran actually puts in place, if he, you know, follows through with any of his campaign promises. It'll be interesting to see. I don't know. Stuff going on the last couple days has been kind of crazy, though, man. You had that video the Democrats put out, basically asking military personnel to not follow illegal orders with the which wouldn't normally, you know, be that crazy of a thing, except they've been trying to call darn near everything Trump does illegal. So if you say, oh, ICE is acting illegally, even though they're not, and it gets held up by courts, and then you tell the military to not follow the president's illegal orders, like, obviously you're implying that they need to question what the president is telling them. So but my prediction is that Trump and Mamdani probably going to be all buddy-buddy. I think Mamdani's going to suck up to him, because at the end of the day, I mean, dude, what is the power the mayor of New York really has? Like, the reason you run for offices like that is to gain political capital and political power. And so the fact that he's meeting with the president now is like the type of thing that's why he ran, was to get that type of power and influence. So it would be great if they come out actually adversarial. I think that'd be hilarious. With Mamdani being like, I told the president he needs to give away free food and make public housing for everyone and add universal basic income and all these socialist principles. And Trump's just like, I told Mamdani he was a lunatic. But I don't think that's what's going to happen. But, you know, we will see. They should be starting any minute now, so. But you know how it goes with some of these White House press conferences. It could be another 20 minutes before they actually come out talking, so hopefully not. I got a couple videos I'm working on, but I wanted to go live for this and see what they have to say. I was working on a video for all that nonsense yesterday with the Democratic congressman telling military officials not to follow orders if they deem it illegal. Oh, for sure. Zohran definitely is, he's a figure. I mean, there's a reason he was invited to the White House. How many mayors, when they're mayor-elect, come to the White House to speak with the president? So that's why I said it's going to be real interesting to see how they interact with one another once they come out. My gut tells me they're going to be all like buddy-buddy and just be like, oh yeah, we had a real interesting conversation, you know, and you know, Trump's gonna be like, I like this guy. He's a sharp guy, and wow, he really, you know, he really got the vote out there in New York or whatever. I have a feeling it's gonna be like that, but who knows? Who knows? I would love it if they actually, you know, said what they really thought and had a real conversation in front of us, but I don't know, we'll see. You know, Trump's always a wild card. Mamdani's kind of a wild card too, so but feel free to drop in chat what you think. Hopefully they get to it now. They're late at this point, so. Yeah, I mean, I think Nick Fuentes is an interesting guy. I think he's got a lot of pretty common sense takes. I think he says things sometimes in a very negatively inflaming way to get, you know, political clout or social media clout. But I don't necessarily think that's what he actually believes or thinks. And it's more just, you know, farming the clips and stuff. You know, just like all the other streamers and stuff that will play up their reactions or how they feel about different things. That's kind of my take on Nick Fuentes. He does say some pretty extreme stuff sometimes. I think it's mostly clout farming. I don't think it, or clip farming. I don't think that's really the core of his beliefs, but I haven't consumed a ton of his content. I just know, you know, when I've seen clips of him and stuff speaking on various issues, for the most part, he seems pretty reasonable and seems pretty common sense. But
You see all those magazine covers of him going like this, you know?
yeah, I do feel like, you know, he runs the risk of that for sure. Of having like a Charlie Kirk type situation. I think like him, Candace Owens, Tucker Carlson, there's a handful of them that I would be very, very careful if I were them right now and have extra security and everything. But, you know, honestly, Nick kind of has a little bit of a benefit to himself by the fact that he's so inflammatory. Because for a lot of people, the more clickbaity and, you know, edgy and controversial things he says kind of pushes him out onto the fringe a little more. And it seems to me that people are less like, whatever you want to think the power or the establishment is, they seem to be a lot less worried about people on the fringes, you know what I mean? And they're more worried about people that have real mass appeal, like Charlie Kirk, right? I mean, you know, Charlie Kirk was very sellable from a corporate aspect, and so that's why they wanted to be able to control him. And if they couldn't control him, then, you know, there's only one way to end that type of situation. Nick, like, I don't think they're really worried about controlling Nick. The biggest thing they'll do is just slander him and keep him out of the mainstream. You know, I think one of the biggest things for him was Trump inviting him to the White House, or him going to the White House with Kanye and Trump. Now, if we were in a situation where Trump was actually inviting Nick to the White House and taking advice from Nick, then I think you'd have a much bigger target on him. Yeah, he's definitely got support and a movement behind him for sure. Like, but I don't know if it's mainstream enough for them to attack him. Now, that doesn't mean he's safe, right? Because there's whack jobs that aren't part of the establishment and stuff, right? Like, I mean, dude, I've been doing social media for 6 years now, and I've gotten attacked and targeted in hundreds of different ways, and my audience is like, you know, 30,000 or so across platforms. He's, you know, got millions across platforms, right? So, like, it doesn't mean some other whack job won't, you know, try and take a pop shot at him or something else. But I think a real, like, establishment hit job or something, which is what it kind of seems like the Charlie Kirk thing is. I mean, I know that even seems controversial to say, but the official narrative just seems ridiculous to me. I mean, I've had people try and prove to me that the official narrative is accurate, and I just poke tons of holes in it, and I don't know. It seems kind of ridiculous in my opinion that certain things, like how people reacted after the shooting and a 30-06, not having an exit wound and not, you know, doing that. Like, I mean, I'm a gun guy, been a gun guy my whole life. That just seems very, very unrealistic to me. So for when it comes to like things that could be ops or operations, I don't see Nick being a target of that yet. He would have to get much closer to influence and power of the leadership, but I don't doubt there's no shortage of whack jobs that want to take him out. I mean, half the time some of these guys get taken out by whack jobs that are on their side. You know what I mean? Like, you see that all the time with like female influencers and like OnlyFans models and stuff like that get attacked by big fans and stuff of theirs because they develop this weird parasocial, over-invested relationship where they think the person's talking to them, and I can totally see that happening with people with Nick, and even one of those people trying to attack him because, you know, they spent the last 5 years thinking Nick was talking directly to them, and now, you know, they got it in their crazy deluded mind that Nick wants to be a martyr and he's giving them all the codes in the videos, and so he's going to go take them out to fulfill Nick's martyrdom and bring on the change or whatever. You know, people are nuts, man. It's a crazy world out there. You really got to be careful. Like, having been in social media for the last 6 years, like, you really never know who's on the other end, you know? You don't know who's the guy consuming your content and what pills they're on or what asylum they just got out of. So Like I had a guy personally, this is a crazy story, but I had a guy, one of my biggest haters on one of my site was a whack job, and a lot of people in my like niche community were friends and stuff with, and I was telling them like, dude, I don't know, the way this guy has like messaged me and freaked out on me and stuff, like I think he's a whack job. I think he's not mentally safe. And this dude was like a whack job for like a year. Then all of a sudden everybody starts sharing around news articles because this dude like SA'd a 14-year-old, and then when the parents found out, he tried to kill the parents, shot the mom dead, and wounded the father. And so he's in jail now on the East Coast. So it's like, you don't know, man. You don't know. And so... Man, they are late. Supposed to start 11 minutes ago. Come on. They must be in a deep conversation, eh? But yeah, what are you guys in the chat? Do you guys like Mamdani? Yes or no? It is pretty crazy, though. You got the president, you know. Yeah, you like Mamdani? I mean, he seems like a really good, smart politician. It's just, I don't really like that he's backed by Soros, and obviously some of his philosophies aren't really going to come into fruition very easily, but OnlyFans owner is the biggest donor of APAC in the US. Yeah, I've heard that before. Doesn't that seem a little contradictory to you? Like, I mean, I don't know. I'm Christian personally. I don't know if you can see my cross, but I like if I was invested in a porn website, I would feel pretty morally conflicted on something like that. Like, I'm a business guy. I've owned 2 or 3 businesses now, and I don't know. My values carry through to my business always. Like, there's plenty of situations when you're a business owner, and any business owner could tell you this, there's plenty of situations that you get put in where it's like a morally gray area. And that's kind of the point of having values. Whether they're, you know, Christian values or, you know, whatever, just, you know, how your parents raised you or what you feel is right and wrong or your cosmic belief of the universe or whatever. Like, that's where your values step in, is in those situations. When money's involved, when reputation's involved, when people are angry, stuff like that. That's where your values are most important. So... Hey, Falcon, I can understand. I'm not a big like preacher guy, but it's part of my personality. It's part of how I view the world. So, you know, it definitely gets talked about with stuff. But I'm not going to recite Bible verses to you. Ryan's neutral on Mamdani. Yeah, that's kind of where I am, you know. He's an interesting figure though, man. I've already made like 2 videos on him. most would probably deem those videos as not very positive, but when it comes to politicians, I tend to be extremely skeptical. So I'm not going to come out of the gate with some guy that's fairly untested and, you know, speak positively of him necessarily. I'm going to be kind of critical of things like his donors or policies that don't really make sense or anything else. But that doesn't mean I hate the politician or I disagree with them. I mean, the internet might feel that way, but that's not necessarily how I feel, you know what I mean? I have no idea what that means. They're 16 minutes late now. Are they still... See if there's any update. Well, nothing yet.
Why isn't there any audio in this? No. He's doing it now.
All right, and whatever your whatever your last message was before that one got redacted and I didn't see it. I don't think it shows me what it was, but as a Muslim, I like Christians who speak openly about their faith. Because after meeting so many Christians, most of them never talk about it or feel proud. Yeah, I mean, I think everybody should feel comfortable to talk about their religion. I think we got into this weird thing in this country. I feel like it's mostly been the last like 10 years where somehow, you know, like religion became a dirty word or something. I don't really understand what happened there. But I think, you know, I feel like whatever religion you are or whatever faith you are, shouldn't feel scared to talk about it, debate it, and, you know, should also be open to hearing criticism, which I am. I feel like I can defend my beliefs pretty well, but I also studied a lot of other beliefs before I came to settle on mine. So, like, I don't know a lot of other Christians that have read the Quran like I have and read it. I mean, I read a ton of like Hindu and Buddhist philosophy books and stuff like that when I was coming out of college, and some books on Judaism and Kabbalic Judaism and Zen Buddhism and all sorts of other faiths. So and I decided what made the most sense to me, and that's what I go with, you know. All right, they're now 20 minutes late, so they must be having fun in there. Don't forget to like the stream, guys. Drop some hearts, stuff like that. Help out. I just kind of started doing more of the mainstream news kind of streams and political topics and stuff like that. I've only been doing this side for like a month. I was doing social media more in kind of a niche category before this, so that's what I've been doing the last 5 years, but there's so much going on in the world the last couple of years, I kind of wanted to transition into talking about broader subjects. I'll be interested to see if Trump kind of glazes Mamdani. I kind of feel like he will. I feel like they're going to hit it off because they're both kind of similar in their swagger, I guess you could call it. Man, oh man. I figured they'd be a little late, but not this late. Huh. Yeah, I didn't look into that yet, Ryan. What kind of coins did he give him? At least that whole thing's kind of coming to an end. It's about time. I feel like them being late might be a really interesting sign, though. I mean, either they're having such a good conversation that they don't want to get out of it, or they're arguing vigorously, and so they don't want to come out until they've kind of come to a more peaceful point of view with each other, you know? Because at the end of the day, like, it's very rare. I've watched a lot of this stuff. It's very rare that you have them come out and still be like in the heat of an argument or something, you know. Obviously they're going to come out and be like, oh, President Trump was very receptive to my ideas, and he's going to say, oh, Zohran's got some very interesting ideas, and, you know, that's what they want to do. Yeah, they're supposed to be meeting right now, Ryan. They're supposed to be out at 12 to do their after-meeting press conference, so... They're now, well, 12 my times, 3 Central or 3 Eastern if you're over there. So they're now 26 minutes late from doing their after meeting press conference. So Mamdani seems to have some really rabid support there, though, in New York. It's kind of interesting because I would have thought, like, I know my generation, I'm a millennial, and most of my audience is either millennial or Gen Zers. But I would have thought somebody kind of that had a big following in our area. I don't know. I feel like my generation and people younger than me are more skeptical of politicians than the older generations. The older generations seem to, probably because they didn't grow up to access to so much information and social media, they tend to believe a lot more of what the politicians say. And we tend to be a lot more hypercritical of, you know, what they say. But Mamdani seems to have, I mean, he's got people really bought in. You know, both the videos I put out and like shorts and stuff of those videos gotten a lot of people commenting, supporting him. So and like I said, I was pretty critical in those videos too. I wasn't glazing him or anything, so because I think he's done some pretty goofy stuff so far. But he's definitely a very interesting, charismatic guy, so I'm still kind of neutral on my overall opinion on if I think he's gonna be a force for good or evil in the world. So if you're just tuning in, guys, we are just waiting for the president and Mamdani to finish their conversation and come out and speak. They had it scheduled for 30 minutes ago is when it was supposed to start. That's why I started the stream like 10 minutes before that, but they're obviously still deep in some kind of discussion and haven't come out yet. So we'll see what happens. I've seen these things start late a lot of times, but usually only when they're having one of two discussions. Either they really are getting along and having a good time chatting it up, Bubba. Or when they're, you know, in the throes of a debate and they're trying to kind of find common ground before they come and speak. Oh, we got the door open and there might be, I don't know, we're just letting somebody out. Dude, that whole Bubba thing is pretty hilarious. I mean, I don't really believe it. I think Epstein was just talking trash, you know, but it's still funny. You gotta kind of wonder what happens with these type of guys, man, right? I mean, yeah. There's so much, like at the end of the day, what I've learned, having been at fairly high levels of corporate business and having ran businesses myself and meeting, you know, powerful and influential people of all different calibers and stuff. I gotta tell you, man, all these people, like, they're just people. Like, it's crazy to think, but there's really, like, a lot of people when they look at, like, politicians or famous musicians or big influential business leaders or stuff like that, they almost, like, idolatrize them, I guess would be the good word. Like, but they make them out to a, you know, bigger than life, unbelievable type of person. Like, they almost have superpowers or something. And they're not. Like, at the end of the day, they're just dudes, you know? They're just dudes and girls and people that have been able to pull off exceptional things. Sometimes because of, you know, God-given talents, sometimes just because of luck or means and opportunity or whatever else. But that's the thing, like, Trump and Mamdani speaking in there is really not much difference than me sitting here talking to you guys. They just, you know, like, Trump will have a little more access to information, obviously, knowing what's going on, classified within the U.S. and world relations and stuff like that. And Brian. I mean, they're both politicians, you know. I don't think either of them, I don't think either of them is necessarily like an evil person, but I actually think Ted Cruz is more interesting. As Trump called him, Lying Ted. Sorry, I'm just looking real quick to see if there's any updates. Sometimes when things are running this far behind, they'll put out a press release or something, pushing it back an hour or something like that. Not seeing anything yet, though. I was looking on X for updates and I saw Trump's tweet. Communist mayor of New York, Zohran Mamdani. Oh, I remember that. Yeah.
So everybody good on mic check? White balance. Mic check. Test. Check. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
I believe it's just those two.
Give me a minute.
Moen.
Mic check. Test. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Mic check. Test. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
I'm surprised they're not doing it in the Oval, but maybe Trump didn't want to give him that that privilege. I don't know. I thought the reporting that Ted did when the border crisis was happening was really good. Like during the Biden administration, he was going down to the border and doing a lot of stuff from there that I think was really impactful. So Trump called Cruz's wife uglier than a dog. Yeah, I remember. Trump's a shit talker, though, man. I mean, you just gotta, like, I got friends like that, too. You gotta kind of just give them some, what's the best word for that? I don't want to say grace, but you give them a little freedom to bash you, I guess, if you're gonna be, you know, in the same political party as him, because he's going to talk some trash. No, Ryan, come on now. I see Trump is like the king of the yapping. What are you talking about? I mean, he does have his prepared speeches. Oh, they're cutting it inside, so they are doing it from the Oval. All right, guys, looks like we're about to start. Let's see.
Well, thank you very much. We've
crank the audio up a little bit.
Great meeting, a really good, very productive meeting. We have one thing in common. We want this city of ours that we love to do very well. And I wanted to congratulate the mayor. He really ran an incredible race against, a lot of smart people, starting with the early primaries against some very tough people, very smart people. And he beat them easily. And I congratulated him. And we talked about some things in very strong common, like housing and getting housing built, and food and prices, and the price of oil is coming way down. Anything I do is going to be good for New York. If I can get prices down, it's good for New York. And we've got them down, way down from last year. We have, as you know, I've been saying to a lot of people, Walmart said that Thanksgiving this year is exactly 25% less than last year. So that's good for New York, good for everybody. But I just want to congratulate. I think you're going to have, hopefully, a really great mayor. The better he does, the happier I am, I will say. There's no difference in party. There's no difference in anything. And we're going to be helping him to make everybody's dream come true, having a strong and very safe New York. And congratulations, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you.
I appreciate it.
Please.
I appreciated the meeting with the president, and as he said, it was a productive meeting focused on shared admiration and love, which is New York City, and the need to deliver affordability to New Yorkers, the 8.5 million people who call our city their home, who are struggling to afford life in the most expensive city in the United States of America. We spoke about rent, we spoke about groceries, we spoke about utilities, we spoke about the different ways in which people are being pushed out, and I appreciated the time with the president. I appreciated the conversation. I look forward to working together to deliver that affordability for New Yorkers.
Thank you very much. Any questions, please?
President Trump, Stephen Nelson from the New York Post. I've got a question for you and then also one for the mayor-elect. For you, you referred to Mr. Mamdani as a communist. Could you describe why you feel that way? And also, will you do anything to stop him from arresting Prime Minister Netanyahu if he visits New York?
Well, we didn't discuss your second part of the question. And on your first part, I mean, he's got views that are a little out there, but who knows? I mean, we're going to see what works, or he's going to change also. We all change. I changed a lot. From when I first came to office. It's now quite a while ago. It's quite a while. My first term was great. We had the greatest economy in the history of our country. We're doing even better now. We're doing much better now than we did even the first term. And I can tell you some of my views have changed. And we had discussions on some things. I'm not going to discuss what they were, but that I feel very confident that he can do a very good job. I think he is going to surprise some conservative people, actually. And some very liberal people he won't surprise them because they already like him.
And Mr. Mamdani, it sounds like you had a productive discussion, but just days ago you referred to President Trump as a despot who betrayed the country. You said you would be his worst nightmare and accused him of having a fascist agenda. Are you planning to retract any of these remarks in order to improve your relationship?
I think both President Trump and I, we are very clear about our positions and our views, and what I really appreciate about the president is that the meeting that we had focused not on places of disagreement, which there are many, and also focused on the shared purpose that we have in serving New Yorkers. And frankly, that is something that could transform the lives of the 8.5 million people who are currently struggling under a cost of living crisis, with 1 in 4 living in poverty. And the meeting came back again and again to what it could look like to lift those New Yorkers out of struggle and start to deliver them a city that they could do more than just struggle to afford it, but actually start to live in it.
And I've been called much worse than a despot, so it's not that insulting. Maybe I think he'll change his mind after we get to working together. Yes, please.
Mr. President, from MTV Lebanon.
Good.
I would like to ask you a question about the Middle East regarding you said that Hezbollah in Lebanon is not in a good position. And Lebanon now is the final unresolved after Gaza and Syria. Given your assessment, guys, what do you say for the Lebanese today in the state in Lebanon? And what is your next move to push toward disarmament?
Sure. Well, we are pushing for total disarmament of Hamas and, frankly, everybody else. And we actually have peace in the Middle East. As you know, the King of Saudi Arabia just left yesterday. We had some great meetings, and he's made a contribution toward the United States of more than $1 trillion. We have now over $20 trillion coming in. No country has ever had anything like that, not even close. If you go to 2 trillion or 1 trillion, it's a lot. We have 20 or $21 trillion. I think that Hezbollah has been a problem in Lebanon, big problem. We're working with Lebanon. We're working with everybody in the Middle East. That's another thing I think we have in common. We want to see peace in the Middle East. And we actually have now, for the first time, peace in the Middle East after 3,000 years. And now we're going to refine it. And I think you're going to see some very positive things happen.
There is a potential to invite the Lebanese president.
Oh, sure. Oh, I would do that. Absolutely. And if the mayor would like to be here for that meeting, because I know he feels very strongly. I think you feel very, very strongly about peace in the Middle East. I think
we desperately want it, and that's something that I shared with the president, that when I spoke to New Yorkers who had voted for the president last November on Hillside Avenue and Fordham Road, I asked them why. I heard again and again 2 major reasons. One was that they wanted an end to forever wars. They wanted an end to the taxpayer dollars we had funding violations of human rights, and they wanted to address the cost of living crisis. And I appreciated the chance to discuss both of those things.
He said a lot of my voters actually voted for him, and I'm okay with that. I'll do that. I'll sign it. Give it to me. I'll sign it in a minute. That's pretty good.
Mr. President,
yeah, please.
You threatened to send federal troops to New York City. You both have differences when it comes to ICE agents in New York City. Mr. Mamdani, you called ICE a rogue government entity. I wonder how you reconcile your differences on both of those issues.
Well, I think we're going to work them out, and I think that if we have known murderers and known drug dealers and some very bad people, you know, we want to get them out. And the mayor wants to have peace. We discussed this at great length, actually, maybe more than anything else. he wants to have a safe New York. Ultimately, a safe New York is going to be a great New York. If it's not safe, no matter how well we do with pricing and with anything else, we can talk about anything you want. If you don't have safe streets, it's not going to be a success. So we're going to work together. We're going to make sure that if there are horrible people there, we want to get them out. I think he wants to get them out, maybe more than I do. So we'll work together. We discussed it at great length. Yes, please.
Yeah, two questions, if I may. One for you, Mr. President, from BBC in a second. But first of all, to the mayor-elect. You're both from different parts of the political spectrum. You're both populists, though. And I just wonder to what extent the president's campaign style, his techniques, his social media use inspired any part of your campaign?
Well, I actually told the president that, so much of the focus of our campaign has been on the cost of living crisis. And when we asked those New Yorkers who had voted for the president, when we saw an increase in his numbers in New York City, that came back to the same issue: cost of living, cost of living, cost of living. And they spoke about the cost of groceries, the cost of rent, the cost of Con Ed, the cost of childcare. And too often, politicians are looking to lecture to New Yorkers what they should care about as opposed to listen. And when we spoke to those voters who voted for President Trump, we heard them speak about cost of living. We focused on that same cost of living, and that's where I am really looking forward to delivering for New Yorkers in partnership with the president on the affordability agenda.
And I think we have to work a little bit. We talked about Con Edison. We have to work a little bit on getting the prices because, we've gotten fuel prices way down, but it hasn't shown up in Con Edison. And we're going to have to talk to them. If we're sending them fuel at a much lower price than it was a year ago, which is true, we have to get Con Edison to start lowering the rates.
Absolutely.
And if I may, last week you told me you were pushing ahead with your plans to sue BBC for up to $5 billion. You were going to speak to Prime Minister Starmer as well. Is there any progress or any updates on those issues?
Well, we get along very well with the Prime Minister. We made a deal with UK. I like him. He's a fine person. And, I think they have some big energy problems. They've got windmills all over the place. They're going to have to start using other methods because their energy is out of control. Talking about in the UK, it's out of control. And he's got that problem. He's got a big immigration problem, as you know, and he's got a big energy problem. And we talk about it. He's a good man. Prime Minister's a good man.
You had a chance to speak this week?
I haven't spoken this week.
Mr. President, have you spoken to President Zelensky, or do you intend to meet President Zelensky about your plan? Are you going to meet with him?
I've spoken with their people. We have a plan. It's horrible what's happening. It's a war that should have never happened. It would have never happened if I was president, and it's a shame. And I thought they should have acted quicker. But it's a cold winter, and a lot of the you talk about utilities, but a lot of the big energy-producing plants have been under attack, to put it mildly, to put it nicely. We have a way of getting peace, or we think we have a way of getting peace. He's going to have to approve it. Just so sad, so many people. Last month they lost 25,000 soldiers. This is something, we haven't seen anything like this since the Second World War. And they're averaging 6,000 or 7,000 a week between the two of them, dead soldiers. And it goes on, and I think they're getting reasonably close, but I don't want to predict. I would have said that would have been one of my early ones. I did 8 peace deals of countries, including in India, Pakistan. You could even go, in fact, they're coming here in a week or two, go to the Congo and Rwanda. That was 10 million people dead, and we worked something out on that, but so many. And the one I thought would have been, for me, because I have a very good relationship with President Putin, I thought that would have been maybe quicker, but it does take 2 to tango. And now you just see all the death. And, it doesn't affect us other than the fact that we don't want to see all those people that really, it's on the other side of the ocean. It's a war that should have never happened. It did happen. I blame the person also sitting right behind this desk. This is a war that should have never happened, and it wouldn't have happened if I were president. But we're trying to save a lot of lives. They're losing 25,000 lives over the last short period of time. That's Ukrainian and Russian, and it's a shame.
What happens if President? I want to ask the mayor-elect about a House resolution just passed overwhelmingly to condemn socialism, including with 86 Democrats, all of House Dem leadership, and the minority leader, Hakeem Jeffries, despite his endorsement of you. What's your reaction to that?
I have to be honest with you, I focused very little on resolutions. Frankly, I've been focusing...
On socialism.
I understand. I think the focus is on the work at hand. I can tell you I am someone who is a democratic socialist. I've been very open about that. And I know there might be differences about ideology, but the place of agreement is the work that needs to be done to make New York City affordable. That's what I look forward to.
And I want to clarify your answer to Stephen Nelson. He asked about your comment calling the president a fascist. And your answer was, both President Trump and I have been clear about our positions and our views. Are you affirming that you think President Trump is a fascist?
I've spoken about...
That's okay. You can just say yes.
Okay.
So.
Okay.
It's easier.
Yes.
And Mr. Zohran, I wanted to ask you also about this Ukraine plan.
Yeah.
President Zelensky said today that his country would risk either giving up to partner or giving up its dignity. There's been criticism that this deal...
You mean he doesn't like it?
It's unclear. He was sort of
Well,
pretending...
he'll have to like it, and if he doesn't like it, then, you know, they should just keep fighting, I guess, you
The
know.
suggestion that you made, though, was that if he doesn't accept it, that the U.S. would pull back its support for Ukraine. Is that
Well, at some
accurate?
point, he's going to have to accept something, you know. He hasn't accepted. You remember right in the Oval Office not so long ago, I said, you don't have the cards. Don't forget, I inherited this war. I would have never, this war never would have happened. I inherited this war. And I thought he should have made a deal a year ago, 2 years ago. The ultimate deal would have been if it never started. That would have been the good deal. That could have been done. You didn't have the right president.
Yeah, the feed keeps freezing.
Mr. President, cost of living is something that you and Mr. Mamdani seem to agree on.
Right.
Democrats have run New York City for a long time, Mr. Mamdani. Do you see Democrat policy specifically as being a problem? And I'd like that be a question that both of you could answer in New York City.
Look, I think that there are many things in our city where we have to own the responsibility of it, things that existed long before the president was the president. And those are also part of the message of our campaign, was to take on a broken politics of the past. And I ran against a number of candidates who represented different versions of that past. And what we found time and again is that working people were left behind in the politics of our city. And what we're looking to do is put those people right back at the heart of our politics so that we don't have a situation where we're in the wealthiest city in the history of the world, and yet 1 in 5 can't even afford $2.90 for a Metro card.
Mr. President,
You know, we had some interesting conversation, and some of his ideas really are the same ideas that I have. But a big thing on cost, you know, the new word is affordability. Another word is just groceries. You know, it's sort of an old-fashioned word, but it's very accurate. And they're coming down high. They were, you know, we had, both of us, we had the highest inflation in the history of our country the last 4 years under the Biden administration. And we've got inflation down now to a normal number. It's going to go even a little bit lower than that. Katie, do you have something in a bit?
Mr. President, thank you so much. Mr. Mamdani often talks about New York City being covered by international law, that they will follow international law. Doesn't often talk about the U.S. Constitution. What is your response to that?
Well, I don't know what you're referring to in terms of it could be covered by international law, local law. It's covered by a lot of laws, but it's covered by U.S. law. Are you referring to anything in particular?
He just says that they're a city that endorses and enforces international law. Is that at odds with?
No, I don't know. Would you want to respond?
Yeah, I think what I've shared with the president is our desire to not only follow the laws of our own city, laws that protect New Yorkers, but also a desire for consistency in our politics across the board. And that's something that we've talked about and something that I know many New Yorkers want.
We were with ICE.
We discussed ICE and New York City, and I spoke about how the laws that we have in New York City allow for New York City government to speak to the federal administration for about 170 serious crimes. The concerns that many New Yorkers have are around the enforcement of immigration laws on New Yorkers across the 5 boroughs, and most recently we're talking about a mother and her 2 children, how this has very little to do with what that is.
What we did is we discussed crime. More than ICE per se, we discussed crime. And he doesn't want to see crime, and I don't want to see crime. And I have very little doubt that we're not going to get along on that issue. He wants to, and he said some things that were very interesting as to housing construction, and he wants to see houses go up. He wants to see a lot of houses created, a lot of apartments built, etc. And you know, we actually people would be shocked. but I want to see the same thing.
Mr. Mamdani, anti-Israel protesters.
Jack?
Mr. President, I want to know one of the policies as well that Mayor-elect Mamdani talked a number of times about on the campaign was shifting the tax burden for property taxes from what he called minority communities to white.
Well, they both bashed each other pretty hard during the campaign.
More taxes on white people. I also noticed that in your acceptance speech, you didn't mention anything about America or Christians or white people in general, and so I didn't know if that was one of the policies that you guys had spoken about.
We focused on affordability. We focused on the cost of living crisis. What I will say is that I am very much interested in property tax reform because what we see right now in New York City is a system that is so inequitable that it can't even stand up in court. And the president and I spoke about the importance of not only building more housing, but also making sure that regulation of housing is something that is manageable to actually get through and not the cause of yet another weight that we see in our city.
To be clear, you're continuing this idea of race-based property taxes.
No, to be very clear,
that's what you said.
No, the use of the term was a description of neighborhoods, not a description of intent.
So you intend to tax the whiter neighborhoods more?
No, we intend to create a fair property tax system because we want a New York City that is not only fair and equitable, but also one that every New Yorker can afford.
Please, go ahead.
Mr. Mamdani, anti-Israel protesters just targeted a synagogue in New York. Are you concerned about Jewish New Yorkers feeling welcome and safe in the city? And President Trump, you threatened to cut off federal funding to New York City. What policies would prompt you to do that? Would that be city-run grocery stores? Would it be something else?
Well, I think if we didn't get along, whether it's cut off or just make it a little bit difficult or not give as much, we want to see, I use the term, we don't want good money going after bad. And we don't want that to happen. I don't think that's going to happen. I did say that, subject to what policies are being said. We had a meeting today that actually surprised me. He wants to see no crime. He wants to see housing being built. He wants to see rents coming down, all things that I agree with. Now, we may disagree how we get there. The rent coming down, I think one of the things I really gleaned very much today, he'd like to see him come down, ideally, by building a lot of additional housing. Yeah. That's the ultimate way. He agrees with that, and so do I. But if I read the newspapers and the stories, I don't hear that. But I heard him say it today, and I think that's a very positive step. No, I don't expect. I expect to be helping him, not hurting him. A big help, because I want New York City to be great. Look, I love New York City. It's where I come from. I spent a lot of years there. Now I'm right here. We took a big setback with the mayor that we had, named de Blasio. I thought it was a tremendous setback for the city. I think this mayor can do some things that are going to be really great.
Mr. President.
Okay, how about you? Go ahead, please.
You're a billionaire. You have a different address nowadays than you used to, but you used to call New York City home. Would you feel comfortable living in New York City under a Mamdani administration?
Yeah, I would. I really would. Especially after the meeting. Absolutely.
That's pretty big.
What makes you comfortable?
That's pretty big, honestly.
We agree on a lot more than I would have thought. I think I want him to do a great job, and we'll help him do a great job. He may have different views, but in many ways, we were discussing when Bernie Sanders was out of the race, I picked up a lot of his votes, and people had no idea, because he was strong on not getting ripped off in trade and lots of the things that I've practiced and been very successful on. Tariffs, a lot of things. Bernie Sanders and I agreed on much more than people thought. And when he was put out of the race, I think quite unfairly, if you want to know the truth, many of the Bernie Sanders voters voted for me. And I felt very comfortable, frankly, in seeing that and saying that. And, it just turned out to be
that's also true.
A statistical truth. But, no, I feel very comfortable. I would feel very, very comfortable being in New York, and I think much more so after the meeting. Yes, please.
Thank you, Mr. President. I have a question for you, but a very quick one for the mayor. Why did you fly here? Aren't trains greener?
I'll use every form of transit, and I want to make sure that they're all affordable in New York City, and that's why making buses fast and free is a centerpiece of our campaign.
There is a bus that goes.
Well, but I know, but if he flew, that's a lot quicker too. He's working very hard. For him to be, that's a very long drive. I'll stick up for you. The plane takes you 30 minutes, and driving takes you a long time.
Mr. President, I was wondering if you could clear
such a stupid question.
Around a Washington Post report. There's this explosive report that the Coast Guard is no longer going to characterize swastikas and muses as hate symbols. DHS called that a lie and fake news. Can you clear up?
I don't know anything about it. When was this written?
I think yesterday.
Well, look, the Coast Guard's an incredible group of people. I know very
They really
well.
don't have anything
Sorted a
better
lot
to
of
ask the
new
friggin' president
Coast Guard
about, man.
cutters.
Come on.
Beautiful, the most magnificent ship. They look
Like,
like yachts with
geez,
lots of guns
dude.
on them. So I don't know. I haven't seen any report like that, but certainly we want them to remain a great force, and they are.
It really makes you wonder sometimes how these people get press credentials.
Around the world. I would like to ask Mr. Mamdani, you've accused the U.S. government of committing genocide in Gaza while President Trump was working on peace. Why that?
Yeah, it definitely seems
I've
like Trump
spoken
and
about the
Mamdani
Israeli
got
government
along
committing
good.
Genocide, and I've spoken about our government funding it. And I shared with the president in our meeting about the concern that many New Yorkers have of wanting their tax dollars to go towards the benefit of New Yorkers and their ability to afford basic dignity. And what we see right now is we're in the 9th consecutive year of more than 100,000 school children being homeless in our city. And there's a desperate need not only for the following of human rights, but also the following through on the promises we've made New Yorkers. And I appreciated the meeting we had and the work that we can do.
Do you agree that President Trump didn't do a peace and work hard to make the peace? Because he worked hard to do the peace in the Middle East and everywhere. Do you agree with that?
I appreciate all efforts towards peace, and I shared with President Trump that when I spoke to Trump voters on Hillside Avenue, including one of whom was a pharmacist that spoke about how President Trump's father actually went to that pharmacy not too far from Jamaica Estates, that people were tired of seeing our tax dollars fund endless wars. And I also believe that we have to follow through on the international human rights, and I know that still today those are being violated, and that continues to be work that has to be done no matter where we're speaking of.
Mr. President, thank you, Mr. President. Do you view the mayor-elect as the true leader of the Democrat Party? And do you think Leader Schumer is a leader deputies, have to follow his lead?
Honestly, he is. Like, let's be real.
This is a man that right now I think is focused on New York City.
I'd rather him than Newsom.
Do a great job. We're going to help him, but I really think he has a chance to do a great job. But I'll let you answer that. Do you consider yourself the leader of the Democrats? I think it's more appropriate for him.
I consider myself the next mayor of New York City, and I keep my horizons firmly on New York City, and I appreciate the meeting with the president, which focused again on the 5 boroughs and whether New Yorkers could afford to live there.
By the way, being the mayor of New York City is a big deal.
Absolutely.
I always said, one of the things I would love to be someday is the mayor of New York City. Being the mayor of New York, and especially now, because I think you're at really a turning point, one way or the other. It could go great, or it can go in a different direction. And I think you really have a chance to make it.
New York is on that tipping point right now.
Mr. President, you say you love New York City. Mr. Mamdani, does New York City love President Trump?
New York City loves a future that is affordable, and I can tell you that there were more New Yorkers who voted for President Trump in the most recent presidential election because of that focus on cost of living, and I'm looking forward to working together to deliver on that affordability agenda.
I got a lot of votes. One more. Go ahead. 1 or 2 more. Go ahead. I tell you, the press has eaten this thing up. I've had a lot of meetings with the heads of major countries. Nobody cared. This meeting, that you people have gone crazy. Outside you have hundreds of people waiting. This is just a small little group. For some reason, the press has found this to be a very interesting meeting. The biggest people in the world, they come over from countries nobody cares. But they did care about this meeting, and it was a great meeting. Go ahead.
Yeah, Mr. President, I was going to ask you exactly that. Why do you think...
It's because y'all bash the crap out of each other.
Because I think he's different. All right? I think he's different. And that can be in a very positive way. But I think he's different than, your typical guy. Runs, wins, becomes mayor maybe, and nothing exciting. Because he has a chance to really do something great for New York. New York is at a very critical point. And he does need the help of the federal government to really succeed. And we're going to be helping him. But he's different than, your average candidate. He came out of nowhere. I said he has a great campaign.
Honestly, this is huge for Mamdani.
He came out of nowhere. When you start off at 1 or 2, and then I watched. I said, "Who is this guy?" He was at 1.
Like, if you like Mamdani, this is like
the
best thing that could have happened for
him.
him.
Then he went up to 17. I said, let's get a little bit interesting, right? And then all of a sudden he wins a primary that nobody expected he was going to win. It's a great tribute. I mean, it's an amazing thing that he did.
And I'll just add one thing to what the president said. Is one thing I also appreciated is in our meeting to appreciate a portrait of FDR and the incredible work that was done with the New Deal and also in thinking about what it can look like when the federal government and New York City government work together to deliver on affordability. It can be transformative.
You know, we have a great portrait of FDR that I found in the vaults that was missing for years. I found it, and I put it up. He's a Democrat, to the best of my knowledge. He's a Democrat. And when the mayor saw that portrait, he said, "Sir, do you mind if I have a picture taken by that portrait?" It's an amazing portrait. I hope the picture comes out good. But it's an amazing portrait in the cabinet room.
What do you guys think? Drop in the chat. What do you think about this meeting?
FDR, yes, ma'am.
Thank you, Mr. President. You said that you both spoke about crime.
Yeah.
There are many police officers set to come off the rolls at the end of this year in New York City. Are you going to allow those police to be replaced with police officers, actual cops? And are you going to require that that happens? Would there be some consequence?
Well, I hope it happens, but again, that's going to be ultimately the mayor's decision.
What's your answer?
Is that I look forward to delivering public safety with the NYPD, and I've said over the course of our campaign that we have the number of police officers today. They are the ones that's budgeted about 35,000 headcount. And I think the key thing is that we have to make it easier for police to focus on police work, not ask them to respond to 200,000 mental health calls a year.
So is that a reduction from what you're at right now? Are you committing to maintaining the same level of cops?
I've committed over the course of the campaign to maintain the 35,000. That's the headcount that we had through the campaign.
And not replace them with caseworkers, social work?
No, I've said that's the headcount that we want. What we need to do is make sure they can focus on serious crime.
And he just retained a great police commissioner, I believe, right?
Yes, we did, Commissioner.
And see, I mean, that sounds great on paper,
That one they're correct
right?
He retained, I think, somebody that is
it's just in execution how it works out.
Ivanka, and they say she's really good, really competent, and he just retained her, so that's a good sign.
Are there still topics that you see the two disagreeing on in the future, and do you think you'll have more meetings like this?
There will be topics that we disagree on. I think we'll probably come to a conclusion, and ultimately he'll convince me, or I'll convince him. You know, it's for the good of New York. Ultimately, it's for the good of New York. I don't care about affiliations or parties or anything else. I want to see if this city could be unbelievable, if he could be a spectacular success, I'd be very happy.
Do you think you guys will meet more in the future, too?
Excuse me?
Do you think you'll meet again in the future, you know, throughout the initial?
I think we will. Yeah. I think we will. I hope we do. I enjoyed the meeting. We had a great meeting. Please.
Mr. President, Republican Elise Stefanik has campaigned multiple times by calling Zohran Mamdani a jihadist. Do you think you're standing next to a jihadist right now in the Oval Office?
No, I don't, but she's out there campaigning, and you know, you say things sometimes in a campaign.
Isn't that sort of
She's a very capable person, but you really have to ask her about that. But you know, I don't particularly. I think I met with I met with a man who's a very rational person. I met with a man who really wants to see New York be great again, and I can say again, because New York was great. You know, when I came down to Washington initially, the city was so hot; it was doing great. We were having some telltale.
That's such an endorsement for Mamdani,
though. That was not doing a great job, but still, it was moving along, and it went bad. It really went, you know, pretty bad. And he can. I think it's been at lower points, but it went pretty bad. I think he can bring it back. Now the question is, will he bring it back all the way? Will he bring it back greater than ever before? Which is, I guarantee, that's his wish. I think he wants to make it greater than ever before. And if he can, we'll be out there cheering. I'll be cheering for him. Okay? Thank you very much, everybody.
Is there a reason you chose not to answer the question about the city law protest?
Thank you very much.
Oh, no, I care very deeply about Jewish safety, and I look forward to rooting out anti-Semitism across the 5 boroughs and protecting Jewish New Yorkers and every New Yorker who calls the city home.
Yeah, that was good, is what Trump said. Well, what do we think, guys? That was certainly interesting. It seemed like right when they started, like to me right here, right when they start,
housing, well, and I want
when they come in, I don't know, he seems, I don't know if I'm reading that as like nervousness, but when they first cut to this, it made me look like I felt like Mamdani had just gotten a beat down, like, but then
to congratulate,
because just the look on his face, like he seems kind of defeated, but that could just be nerves. I mean, dude, like this guy was a nobody not that long ago, and now he's standing in the freaking Oval Office about to give a a press conference with the president. But yeah, man, I'm kind of shocked at how good that was, honestly. Like, not only did you know, they not fight and name call and stuff, but they seem to actually get along really well. And, you know, Trump called Mamdani a rational thinker and things like that, which is so obvious of what's been being said about him, or so opposite of what's being said about him lately, you know. So I think this is going to really, I mean, this is huge for Mamdani. I mean, he's got to love Trump after this one, because, you know, he just, in front of all these reporters and now on tape, you know, all these Republican commentaries and all these Republican commentary people that have been calling him a crazy fascist, Nazi, or not Nazi, but socialist, all this other stuff. You know, and you got Trump saying, oh, we share a lot of the same ideas. He's a real rational thinker, blah, blah, blah. So, I mean, I know, like I said before this, I thought it was going to be a glaze fest either way, but there's different levels to the glazing, right? There's like, oh, he's a really nice guy, and, you know, he's got a good backstroke on the course or whatever, where he kind of glazes him on non-political issues. But this, he seemed to really glaze him as a candidate. So I don't know. I mean, if he doesn't F up New York too bad, or if he makes it better, I mean, I could see him going for a run in 2028 or 2032. Really interesting, though. I mean, Mamdani's one of those guys where, you know, like, the stuff he says is kind of comes across really controversial, but then if you watch longer videos where he kind of explains his position, it's not that controversial. So I thought it might go well, but what an endorsement from Trump. What do you guys think? Ryan thinks that was awesome.
This meeting, and it was a great meeting. Go ahead.
Yeah, Mr. President, I was going to ask you exactly that. Why do you think there's so much more, you know, so much excitement around?
The reporters kind of were annoying me a bit throughout it, but because they were saying a lot of some of the dumbest like some of them asked really good questions. Like I thought the housing question was really good and stuff like that. And it's really interesting for Trump to say him and Mamdani agree on housing, because that's one of the things that Mamdani gets beat up for from the right the most. But
it's different than, you know, your average candidate. He came out of nowhere.
I mean, I just think that's really good for Mamdani, and so we'll see. I think it's a great thing for Trump too, in a lot of ways, because it shows him being very able to listen and work out differences with the other side, because that's a lot of the problem we see right now. And whatever your beliefs or political affiliation is, I see it much more on the left than on the right, where they're not willing to talk or debate or anything else. Then I see a lot of the right willing to have those discussions, have those debates. So him going to the White House, them getting along, agreeing, seeming buddy-buddy, you know, touching each other, and that sounds awkward, but you know what I mean? Giving each other pats and slaps and stuff like that and joking around. I mean, that goes a long way for Trump too. So it's a good political move for both of them. It's funny he said how interested the media wasn't, because I'm not an official member of the media or anything, but I'm, you know, I commentate on political stuff, and I certainly thought this was an epic thing to watch. That's why most of it I was silent through. I'm gonna have to do a video on it and actually provide more commentary, but I wanted to hear what they were saying, other than on the dumb questions, you know. Mamdani was a rapper, so it's easy for him to handle. For him, so it's Mamdani was a rapper, so it's easier for him to handle pressure. Yeah, I mean, maybe. I've never seen Trump being so humble to somebody. Yeah, that's what I mean, Ryan. Like, I mean, Trump's honestly, if you watch a lot of Trump's press conference and interviews, like I have, he's a pretty good glazer. Like, that's why a lot of people like him. And a lot of really good salesmen and business people are like that. like, even if they find you the most vile, despicable person, like, they're good at targeting that one or two things that you guys have common ground on or that they like about you, and then, you know, overflowing the conversation with that thing. So, you know, even if you hate this person, but they like golf too, you know, you end up spending the whole time saying, yeah, you know, he's a great guy. Me and him talked about our backstrokes or this, that, and the other thing. So it's interesting though, because it seems like they agreed actually on a lot of policy stuff, which I wasn't expecting.
There will be topics that we disagree on. I think we'll probably come to a conclusion, and ultimately he'll convince me or I'll convince him. You know, it's for the good of New York. Ultimately, it's for the good of New York. I don't care about.
But yeah, I think that was great. I think it was great for the political climate too, because things have been really tense lately, and you have two of the most dynamic figures, I would say, probably in either party's political movement. Obviously, Trump is one of the most dynamic figures on the right, other than somebody like, you know, Nick Fuentes or something like that, but a lot of people put him more in the fringes. And then you got Mamdani, who's very outspoken on the left, and maybe the only other one close to him is like an AOC or something like that. And coming together and coming to agreement on a bunch of stuff and how they solve problems and stuff like that. So it's pretty interesting.
I met with a man who really wants to see New York be great again. And I can say again, because New York was great. You know, when I came down to Washington initially.
Hector, what are you saying about Snap? I'm not following your comment, but yeah, very interesting press conference, man. One of the better ones I've seen in a while.
But still, it was moving along.
And I gotta say, I'm kind of starting to like Mamdani, man. Like I said, I've been very neutral on my opinion. I think certain things he's done has been extremely cringe and worrisome. Like some of his policy positions have been kind of scary to me. I tend to be a lot more fiscally conservative and socially liberal. And so a lot of the more left-wing economic policies kind of freak me out that he's been spewing. But definitely doesn't seem like a bad dude. I still, you know, it's going to be hard for anybody to convince me that increasing taxes is a good idea. And that tends to be part of the left's main platform when it comes to how we pay for things, is just tax more. And you heard them talking about it here, increasing the taxes in wealthy neighborhoods and stuff. And it's like, I don't know if you guys realize this, but the government has a lot of money, because not only do they collect income tax and property tax and sales tax in some states, but they make a ton of money off investments and property that the government owns and trade tariffs and trade taxes and all of this stuff. I mean, if you've been a small business person, like, you know, it's crazy how much of your money when you're running a business goes directly to the government. You pay taxes getting your you pay taxes getting your product in. You pay taxes to have your storefront. You pay taxes to have your employees, payroll tax and stuff. You pay taxes when you sell your product. You pay taxes on the profit you get from your product. And then if you pay yourself out as a business owner from that business, you pay taxes on your profits again to pay yourself out, self-employment taxes. So it's like, it really is insane, guys. Like, we don't need more taxes. We need much less taxes, in my opinion. But we need to do better with the money that the government already has. I think if we eliminated a lot of the fraud and waste that goes on. I mean, you look at projects like in California where, you know, Gavin Newsom had a 10-year plan for like $5 billion to help homeless. And over that 10 years, basically nothing has happened. There's 10 times more homeless than there was before. And all that $5 billion gone. Like stuff like that. I mean, that could pay for something, you know, that actually helps people for a long time, or pay for some of these programs and stuff that people want to put in place. So
problem. We're working with Lebanon. We're working with everybody in the Middle East. That's another.
His eloquence will take you on his side. He makes more sense than the media portrays him. Absolutely, Hector. I thought that was really good. That was a great interview with him after. I thought he handled some dumb questions really well, and also some very targeted questions with a good amount of grace. So I thought it was good.
Because I know he feels very strongly. I think you feel very, very strongly about peace in the Middle East.
We desperately want it, and that's something that I shared with the president, that when I spoke to New Yorkers who had voted
I mean,
for the president,
a lot of people think that the wealthy and big corporations don't pay any taxes. And that's kind of more of a twisted talking point. Like, if you look at like direct profit taxes and stuff like that, they do things to pay as little taxes as possible, obviously, just like anybody. But every big corporation gives tons and tons of money to the federal government. I mean, everything from property taxes to their storefront. Like, I've managed regions in large corporations, and I've read the P&Ls and the books myself, and I've seen Fortune 100 corporations that I've been part of paying millions of dollars in taxes. So, like, this idea that they pay nothing. Now, on the income end of things, do they pay, taxes on bottom line profits all the time? Probably not, because there's things in the tax code they can do to get around it. Could we eliminate some of those things? Sure. But doing something like raising the taxes on wealthy New Yorkers by 2%, I don't think stuff like that's the solution. I mean, people have been trying to tout a little tax increase as a solution for my entire life. And every time they do those little increases, the problem doesn't get fixed. And then they say, we need another little increase to fix it, and then another little increase, and then another little increase. It's a lot more than you would think, Hector. It's a lot more than you would think. I mean, I know a lot of left media likes to paint that stuff as negatively as possible, but if you actually like really look at it, they pay a lot more than you think. I mean, if you take any big retailer, like let's say Claire's or something, I don't know, they have all the payroll taxes that they're paying. They have all the property taxes that they are paying. They have all the sales tax they're collecting for the states they're in. Like, all of that stuff comes before profit. So, I mean, you could have tens of millions of dollars in taxes that they paid and collected before it even comes to how much profit they have. So then at the end of the day, they have, a couple $1 million profit. They've already paid $50 million in taxes, and they decide to use that as company investments and then take out a loan or something to help offset and not pay taxes on that final end income. I mean, that's not that crazy of a thing to me. Like, that, I'm sorry, I'm not going to get pissed off about that. And like, that's the reality with most of these business. It's a nice boogeyman to have. It's a nice boogeyman to say, oh, all of your problems are because of these, big corporations. But I think more of it comes down to a lot of the problems are because of individual really wealthy people. And we're not talking about the type of people that live in nice houses in New York or in LA or in any other city. We're talking about the 1% of the 1% of the 1% that have billions and trillions of dollars that they use to influence politicians and policies and all of this to help their portfolios or gear the world towards what they want to see the world being. I think that's far more of a problem than how much Foot Locker pays on its end of year taxes. You know what I mean? Like, just really.
What's happening? It's a war that should have never happened. It would have never happened if I was president, and it's a shame. And I thought they should have acted quicker.
Oh, there's absolutely some that are worse than others, for sure. Like Walmart and Amazon they're much worse than others. But the problem is, when people talk about big businesses, corporations, stuff like that, they tend to use it as a blanket statement. It's kind of, in my opinion, this might scare off a bunch of people, but it's kind of like the whole like conversation about Israel and the Jews. Like, there's a lot of people that blame Jews for everything on the right and on the left. And I think, like, it's like 1/100th of 1% of Jews that are the problem, that are doing some of these negative things because they have a bunch of money, power, and influence in specific areas, and they're pushing certain agendas in it. And it's not Jewish people, you know what I mean? So it's not like the left and a lot of the more left-leaning media likes to go, oh, capitalism's so evil, the evil corporations are doing this and that. It's like, I mean, capitalism is, if you look at the economic systems of the world, it's probably the best one that's ever existed. And the majority of businesses pay a ton in taxes. Are there 1/10 of 1% that might do everything they can to try and screw over the people in the government? Absolutely there is, you know, absolutely. I'm not going to argue with you that that doesn't exist. I just think it's not as big of a part of the problem as a lot of people try and paint it out to be.
Trying to save a lot of lives. They're losing 25, think of that, 25,000 lives over the last short period of time. That's Ukrainian and Russian. And
yeah, I mean, I get you, Hector. I just know from my personal experience, you know, I've been a business owner that's made hundreds of thousands of dollars in a year, and I've been a employee that's made $50,000 in a year, and I paid way more money the more money I made. And even with loopholes and expenses and other things like that and hiring accountants, like, if you look at the big picture, I paid it in different ways. Like, my, you know, paycheck percentage might not have gone up to 70, 80%, whatever they want, but like, I'm paying taxes in a bunch of different areas. I'm paying sales taxes. I'm paying fees and processing stuff from the government, and registrations and permits and payroll taxes and filing fees and corporation fees and all this other stuff that I was paying for my business that I never paid as an individual employee. And then if you take that as an overall percentage of how much money I made, the percentage is astronomical compared to what I paid as just like a 50 or 70K employee, right? So, you know, it's probably closer to 60, 70% of net income. And that's with like expensing a lot of stuff and doing workarounds and, you know, doing other things. Like, it's a lot. Now, it's not like, oh, our net end of the year profit's 100 grand. It's not 70% of that 100 grand, right? I'm only paying the tax bracket plus self-employment if I cash that 100K out to me personally. But I paid a bunch of taxes before we got to that net 100 grand. You know, I paid payroll taxes, I paid filing fees and processing fees and all this other stuff. I mean, think about how many things you have to pay for your car, with like your registration, your license, your plates, and all of that stuff. All that's basically tax. I mean, it doesn't cost them. You know, I just re-upped, got new plates for my car. I paid $375. That little hunk of tin didn't cost $375. The rest of that's tax revenue basically for my state. And when you're a business owner, you have a ton of stuff like that. You have permits and stuff that you have to renew every year, and licenses and registrations and all of this stuff, plus all the payroll taxes and sales taxes and everything else. I mean, it really adds up. Like, it's just a lot, like most things, honestly, most things in the world are a lot more complicated than a political talking point. And I think that's part of the problem we got as a country over the last like 10 years, with social media really blowing up and attention spans kind of coming down, and people being more instant gratification of stuff, as they want things in that nice little bite-sized talking point. And most things have a lot more detail and a lot more nuance to them than that. Oh, definitely. I'm still considered a small business at that point. Yeah.
Well, I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, I think where we would agree, Hector, is that the tax system needs some major reformation. I don't think taxing people more is necessarily the issue, especially if you're talking about people that are living in, like, you know, because what most people consider rich, like when he's talking about the richest areas in New York and stuff, some of these people are worth, you know, maybe $5-10 million, right? Maybe more, but that's honestly not that rich in the grand scheme of things, like in the US. I mean, there's plenty of people in the US that are worth $1 million and basically living paycheck to paycheck because they're worth that just basically off their real estate where they live. Like, now, if you say like the billionaire class, the trillionaire class, well, yeah, I'd love for them to pay more in taxes, but most of them aren't even in the US anymore because of the taxes. You know, they're in tax haven countries across the world. I mean, what happened? I don't know about you, but I've been in the crypto world, for instance, since 2016. I've been investing in cryptos and following that. Almost every crypto influencer I know that's been around since like 2016 has moved to some tax haven country. Why? Because they're worth tens of millions of dollars now because they invested heavy back in, you know, 2016 when Bitcoin was at $1,000 and Ethereum was at $30 and Litecoin was at, you know, 80 cents and XRP was at 3 cents or 2 cents. And so most of those guys are multi-millionaires now, and they all left the US because they don't want to pay taxes when they sell those assets and you know, use it to buy property and other things like that. So
America or Christians or white people in general, and so I didn't know if that was one of the policies that you guys have spoken about.
We focused on affordability.
hey, I mean, that could be true too, right?
What I will say is that I am very much interested.
I've seen a lot of them move that, you know, do streams and do content and stuff, and they move to like Malta and Cayman Islands and Puerto Rico. Is it Puerto Rico, or which is the one that has no capital gains tax? That's a U.S. territory. Is that Puerto Rico? It doesn't sound right to me for some reason, but I think that's right. But yeah, a lot of them have moved to places like that, and so.
No, we intend to create a fair property tax system because we want a New York City that is not only fair and equitable, but also one that every New Yorker can afford.
Yeah, now if we want to talk about things like BlackRock, I mean, yeah, Virgin Islands, Guam. BlackRock is one of the more destructive things, you know, in our culture. And I think having any large hedge fund or investment fund being able to own that large a percentage of the U.S. economy is a bad idea. And I think eventually that's going to come toppling down, and it's going to be a bad house of cards.
Actually surprised me. He wants to see no crime. He wants to see housing being built. He wants to see rents coming down. All things that I agree with. Now we may
Look at JD Vance's tweet. What did he tweet out?
I think one of the things I really gleaned very much today. He'd like to see him come.
All right, let's see. He says POTUS has a lot of good moments, but this is an all-timer. Let's see.
About
that's okay. You can just
to Stephen Nelson. He asked about your comment calling the president a fascist, and your answer was, both President Trump and I have been clear about our positions and our views.
That cracked me up.
Are you affirming that you think President Trump is a fascist?
I've spoken about.
That's okay. You can just say it.
I do love that.
It's easier than explaining it.
It's easier than explaining it.
I wanted to ask you.
That's kind of what I was talking about, right?
He asked about your comment calling the president a fascist, and your answer.
It's easier to just like say the little, say the talking point rather than actually explain the nuanced, detailed difference in positions. Oh, 100%, Hector. We should be able to sustain a decent living. We should, I mean, ultimately, like, if you want to know my real opinion, I don't think we should be taxing individuals, like, at all. Like, I think all the taxes should be paid by trade and business. And I think if you really look at the numbers, there's probably enough there. Trade, business, and then maybe if we need a little more investments. If you look really, like, if we trimmed a lot of the dumb fat in the government, I think we'd have enough there. Like, I don't see why we even need to tax it. Like, it's so silly to me that we live in a system right now, and this is what, like, I wanted to bang my head against the wall when the Doge stuff was coming out. Like, we live in a system right now where the federal government can waste tens of millions of dollars on some program in another country, and yet some guy making $50K a year that has to be on food stamps because he's not making enough money, that can barely keep food on the table and, you know, a 2-bedroom apartment for him and his wife and his 2 kids, like, they're getting taxed 20-25%. While we're sending, you know, $10 million to some country for Sesame Street, for gay Sesame Street in Iran or whatever. Like, that, that is frustrating, bro. That is so frustrating. Why is that happening? And the same thing goes for war. Like, a lot of the reason people are, like, so against foreign wars and stuff is because we waste so much damn money on it, man. We send so much money to the Middle East and other countries, and, like, is a portion of it necessary? Like, absolutely. I think the US has an interest in keeping, like, global peace, right? Because if there's wars that could damage infrastructures that we rely on, or, you know, end up coming to us or anything, like, there's certainly, like, national security interests that warrant our intervention. Don't get me wrong. I'm not saying, like, we should, like, I'm not a pure American nationalist where, like, you know, we arm our borders and it can be chaos outside. We don't care. We only take care of us. Like, no, I think, you know, if something's happening that threatens our supply chains or something like that, like, I think we should spend the money and intervene to protect our interest. But, like, we don't do just that. We go way above and beyond just, like, our base national interests, you know what I mean? And we spend trillions of dollars on it. So it was a very stupid question, Hector. Dude, there was a couple reporters that asked just the dumb, like, the airplane question was so dumb. Like, why? I mean, I guess they were trying to get, like, a climate change gotcha with him, but, like, I think everybody's kind of come to the realization now that like, the oversensitivity about the climate change stuff is all kind of like that was a psyop, right? We all know that was kind of just propaganda, right? Like, obviously what we do as people is going to affect the environment in one way or another. If I rip up a tree, it's not going to grow there anymore. But, you know, so we can definitely have an impact on our environment, but all this, like, carbon tax bullshit and stuff it's a psyop, you know, it's propaganda. Like, I think we're all pretty much under that same belief. So, even the left has kind of let up on that stuff. And so that question was stupid. Why did you fly here instead of taking a train? Like, because he's meeting the damn president of the United States. And, like, he's a newly elected mayor of one of the largest cities in the biggest countries in the world. Like, his time is valuable. Like, I'll do stuff where I'll pay for things that I could do myself because it saves me time, because it's a you know, it's a time expenditure thing balance. You know what I mean? Like bailing out Argentina for 40 billion. Yeah, exactly. No, very true, man. Hector, and a lot of that came to fruition because of the WTO and the stuff that happened during the Clinton years, right? And now I'm old enough, I still feel young, but I'm old enough and was paying enough attention to remember what the world economy and the US economy was like before, during, and after Clinton. Like, granted, I was young, but I was interested in politics and stuff from the time I was a very young kid. Like, and during the Clinton administration, and then kind of doubled down during the Bush administration, Bush Jr., we sold everything off to overseas companies, all of our production lines, all of our supply lines, and everything else. We just let them do it. We let China do all of our manufacturing. We let South America do all of our food production. We let, everybody just, hey, we just want to be the country that consumes all of your, the fruits of all your labor, which is honestly probably one of the most fucked up things if you could think about it. Really, is kind of like just the US wanting to make the rest of the world its servants. And for some reason, that's been the global economic policy. And when you do that, then of course, the companies that control those production lines in those countries are going to have undue influence over your political leaders and everything else, because they can turn the switch off. So yeah, well, they want to make money, but the other thing you have to think about too is that a lot of them have different agendas, and that's the worst part about sending so much of our supply chains and productions overseas. Isn't just the matter that we have to deal with foreign influence on, political issues and stuff like that, but a lot of them are working towards completely different goals than we are, right? So that's where you're seeing some of these issues kind of come to fruition nowadays, with the immigration crisis and with, different ideologies being pushed in different communities and through different political parties and stuff like that. You wouldn't be seeing that if we produced all that stuff on our own, because we could just tell that country to kick rocks and stop, investing in people here, stop sending people here. And, we could just isolate them out and box them out if somebody was trying to move a certain ideology into our country. But when we're reliant on that country and we have to maintain a good relationship with that country, then it's a lot different, right? We can't just box them out. So, yeah. I mean, ultimately, money is just a made up thing anyway, right? I mean, I've said this for years. If you followed me prior to me kind of jumping into politics, I was doing precious metals and stuff, a lot of content around that. And, paper money's fake. The global financial system is fake. It's all just made up. Like, it's literally just made up. So, the only real thing is tangible assets, whether that's, gold and silver or real estate or things you can own and hold that maintain value. Yeah. Yeah, a lot of press outside.
Ideally, by building a lot of additional.
I wonder, is there?
Ultimate way. He agrees with that, and so do I. But if I read the
Look real quick if there's any. Any more live footage? No, it's all just the same. Oh, here's agenda free. They're showing all the people outside. But yeah. Hey, appreciate it, Hector. Yeah, I mean, I think Mamdani did a good job with Trump, and I think Trump did a real good job with Mamdani. I think both deserve a lot of credit, to be honest. Obviously, if you like one more than the other, then you're going to champion for that person being having a win more than the other person. But I think really, I think both of them had to humble themselves, and both of them had to be open and willing to discuss and make peace. It just kind of blows my mind because Trump said a lot of nasty stuff about Mamdani, and Mamdani said a lot of nasty stuff about Trump. So, I mean, I get that that's part of the political game and stuff, but it's still very interesting that they were able to come together at that type of peaceful discussion. Like, maybe I'm just getting too pessimistic after the last few years, but you haven't seen a lot of that in politics. And so it's really nice and refreshing to see, because a lot of times you got people from the left saying horrible things about people on the right. They retort with horrible things about them, and then they'll never actually come together and settle differences, find common ground and stuff like that. Yeah, have a good day, Hector. It was good talking to you, man. Appreciate you being active in chat. Yeah, I know. It kind of almost looks like a protest, right? That's just all the press. Yeah, Mamdani certainly has a following, doesn't he? And like, that's part of the reason I'm hypercritical of Mamdani, and I'm really kind of I don't want to like him too much too quickly, because the amount of positive support he's gotten already almost seems like, I want to say manufactured, but like orchestrated, you know? It's just crazy how popular he became so quickly and how much people are bought into him so quickly. Because at the end of the day, he's a politician and he hasn't even served in the role yet. So he could get in the role and do jack shit, right? Like he could be Rob Ford from Canada and just be, you know, doing crack cocaine and hanging out with hookers all the time. Like, we don't know yet how he's going to do. So the fact that he's got so many loyal, diehard followers immediately and so much press attention is really, like, I don't know, certain things throw up red flags in my book, and that's one of them. Yeah. So it's kind of like I want to like the guy, but at the same time, like, if he was like 20% as popular as he was now, I'd probably like him a lot more, because how popular he is and how quickly he became popular, like, gives me reservations. And honestly, it should give all you guys reservations too. If you're in the chat and you're a big Mamdani supporter and you're beating the drum and you love everything he says, like, that's great and all. You can love everything he says, but understand, like, he hasn't tried to implement any of these policies yet. He hasn't actually worked through the bureaucratic red tape that is the government yet. And so until he does, we don't really know what kind of leader he's going to be. All we know is a bunch of speeches he's given. So you have to look at these people with a certain level of scrutiny. Because there's been tons of political candidates that we thought were going to change the world and change everything. Some of y'all might be too young to have been involved when Obama was coming up, but I was very involved. Obama was the first president that was elected when I was old enough to vote. So, like, right after I turned 18 is when that election was. And everybody thought Obama was just going to bring in this, like, wave of prosperity and unity, and, you know, gays and blacks and whites are just going to be dancing in the park holding hands and stuff like that. And obviously that didn't happen. Right? So maybe having already seen it and experienced it already, that gives me a lot more reservations because, some of these guys are just full of shit. They don't really do any of the things they say they're going to do. They lead these awesome campaigns, talk about all these awesome things. Like AOC is another great example, right? Like a lot of people still really like AOC because she says some really, really popular opinions and stuff. And she speaks these opinions in a way that resonates a lot with the youth. But if you actually like look at how she's voted on some stuff, it'll make you kind of scratch your head. Like I can't think of any direct examples right now off the top of my dome. I apologize. But, there's been plenty of times where, she said things that are like, whatever, we shouldn't be funding this war, blah, 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 blah. And then she goes and votes for the funding bill. So then it's like, well, what the F, So we don't know if Mamdani's going to be like that or not. Is he actually going to bring down the cost of living in New York? Is he actually, because like the cost of living is a crisis right now. Like it is insane. I don't understand. Like I'll watch some Fox News. I'll watch some CNN. I'll watch, I watch a lot of, influencers and on the ground journalists. And it seems like the influencers and on the ground journalists are the only ones really talking about the big issues nowadays. And the mainstream media is focused on issues that don't even really matter or are very tone deaf. I don't know if it's because of the generation they're speaking to or what, but it's crazy. Like you watch Fox News during the, shutdown of the government and all they were talking about was like, oh, like whiny liberals not getting their EBT. And it's like, that's so tone deaf, like so incredibly tone deaf of the situation that it just like, it hurts my brain because yeah, sure. There's some people that abuse the EBT system and the SNAP system. I don't doubt that there's some people out there. There's going to be some people out there that abuse anything, but like in whole, you have a crisis in America where the majority of people can't afford their basic necessities, housing, food, taking care of their kids. If they even have kids, a lot of younger people are choosing not to have kids because they can't even afford their own life. How can they support another person? I mean, like the data's there, it's showing it. And like, and all you're gonna do is like during the government shutdowns, just mock people for, buying soda on food stamps or what. Like, it's so stupid. Like we need to be fixing those type of issues, not worrying about the small amount of corruption in food stamps. You know what I mean? Like, hey, how about we get it to where everybody can, work a 40-hour-a-week job and afford to pay their bills and pay rent and pay for food and everything else. And then if there's people abusing the food stamp system, then we can go in and, make that an issue that we look at. But Wally Rashad or Wally Rashid, let me see. Yeah, I'm not sure what he's going over. On YouTube, you'll like it. Okay. I'll keep it on the back burner, but yeah, I haven't heard of him, so I'll have to check his stuff out. It's kind of a cool time that we live in, you know, with the influencer media and stuff. There's definitely kind of there's a big downside to it, right? Because you got people that don't know what the hell they're talking about, people with no life experience, people trying to spin stories in one direction or another. But you also get access to a lot of like real opinions and real perspectives. I'll take a look real quick. So let's see, what's he... We'll keep the Mamdani thing right there. What's he talking about? Netanyahu demanded Bill Clinton release convicted Israeli spy Jonathan Pollard after telling Clinton Israel knew of tapes between him and Lewinsky. Jeez. Was this like, is this like Epstein leak stuff or? Ah. Interesting. Yeah, there's gonna be a lot of there's gonna be a lot of stuff that comes from those Epstein files that I think aren't really people aren't really ready for. Like, I don't think they're gonna get what they want, which is like, you know, the perverts and sex traffickers of the world. But I think we're gonna get a lot of collusion stuff and a lot of exposure of a lot of backroom deals and things like that. Oversight Committee believes there's been intense White House cover-up of Epstein files. See what the people are saying about the Mamdani interview or meeting. I can tell you that some of my views have changed. I feel very confident that he can do a very good job. I think he's going to surprise some conservatives. And some liberal people, he won't surprise them because they already like him. Well, it depends on what his policy is, you know? Dude, this really was like the funniest moment. Are you affirming that you think President Trump is a fascist? I've spoken about, that's okay. You could just say it. I don't mind. Oh my gosh. Well, that seems to be the moment that everybody's talking about, huh? I like this part too, where Trump goes, I've been called much worse.
And your answer was, both President Trump and I have been clear about our positions and our views. Are you affirming that you think President Trump is a fascist?
I've spoken about...
That's okay, you can just say yes.
Okay.
It's easier. It's easier than explaining it. I don't mind.
And Mr. President, I wanted to ask you also about this Ukraine
That's pretty
plan.
funny. Yeah.
President Zelensky said today that his country would risk either giving up a partner or giving up its dignity. There's been criticism that he asked about.
Yeah, I saw. Didn't I think Trump gave Zelensky a deadline on working out a peace deal? Trump clearly loves Zohran. This is going to be the funniest reoccurring subplot over the next few years. Yeah.
An incredible race against, a lot of smart people. Very well. And I wanted to congratulate the mayor. He really ran an incredible race against, a lot of smart people.
Laura
Starting
Loomer.
with the early primaries against some very tough people, very smart people.
Let's see. Why are we chumming up with a man who campaigned with a 1993 World Trade Center bombing co-conspirator? How come you guys didn't call him out for his support of Islamic terrorism? We are losing our country to an Islamic takeover. Nobody wants to address it seriously. Yeah, I mean, I think it's one of those things where I think we do have to be a little careful as a country about certain viewpoints and stuff coming and taking over cities or taking over government, stuff like that. As someone who lives in Oregon and we had a town taken over by a cult, the entire government and everything in like Eastern Oregon, you can look it up online. It was called the Hare Krishnas. Like it is possible, but I don't know. I don't think it's the biggest thing. I think Mamdani as a Muslim person is obviously going to be much more sympathetic to people in the Middle East, and that's going to piss people off justifiably. But I mean, at the end of the day, like it doesn't make him a bad person or anything. Yeah, she is pissed. Trump administration must call out Mamdani for his promotion of Islamic jihadist causes and his normalization of harassment of Jews in New York City by third world Muslims who are now storming synagogues in New York City to harm Jews. This must be addressed today while President Trump meets with Mamdani at the Oval Office. It's like, I don't know. I feel like it's an issue, obviously, if Jews are getting discriminated against, because like I said earlier, I think most of the, problems people put onto Jewish people are from a very, very small percentage of Jewish people. And so if there's hate crimes and stuff occurring, then they definitely need to be dealt with, but I don't know. It's not something I'm too crazy obsessed about. Like, I'd be more worried about, like, what's happening in, like, Dearborn, Michigan and stuff like that. No, so here, I'll find it real quick and show you. Rajneeshis, sorry. I thought I said Hare Krishnas. It's the Rajneeshis. Hare Krishnas we've had too, but yeah, I was in the Dalles, Oregon. So it was a new religious movement inspired by an Indian mystic, Rajneesh. And they took over the town of Antelope in Dallas, Oregon, or the Dalles, as people in Oregon call it. But yeah, they basically they wanted a bunch of laws passed that the city council and stuff wouldn't do. So then they brought in enough members to vote in the city council that they wanted, change the laws, change the name of the town to, I think they changed the name of the town even to Rajneesh. And then they got caught up in this like bioweapon scandal. Yeah, Rajneesh Param. See, they changed the friggin' name of the town to Rajneesh Param. So it's like, there's definitely a legitimate concern of that type of thing happening in the US. And when you've seen things like what's happening in Dearborn, Michigan, I think like if I lived in Michigan, that would be a legit concern to me. Now, you know, I think Islamic people have, you know, every right to believe their faith and everything else. Like, I don't really see, you know, I don't really see a problem with anybody being Muslim or Islamic or anything like that. Like, I'm totally cool with that. Fine if that's what you want to believe. But yeah, having like the call to prayer going at 5 a.m. throughout public spaces. And I mean, some of the stuff you've seen out of there, like from the public meetings and the mayor of the town telling a guy that, you know, he wants him out of his city and stuff when all the guy said is like, I'm a Christian and things like that. Like stuff like that that's worrisome. That makes me think of Rajni Param. It's a hard word to say. I'm sorry. ISKCON. ISCKON. Yep. Yep. Yeah, there's a lot of crazy stuff happening in the world. I personally think the most important thing is that we keep open lines of communication and keep talking to one another, man. So I'm super stoked that they had such a good meeting. And it's cool that they even had some fun moments. I'm definitely going to make a video covering this because I think it's pretty cool that they were able to both humble themselves, show respect to one another, and joke about the names and stuff they called each other. It's pretty nice to see. Anything else going on the ground? Doesn't look like it. What's this? Urgent call for immediate what? Yeah, this is probably old. I love how some of the sites like to just replay their old videos on live and stuff. It's pretty annoying. All right. That might be it for me today, guys. I got some videos and stuff I want to work on. One about this, but it was a really good press conference. Thank you guys for all coming, joining, hanging out. Appreciate y'all being here. If you got any last thoughts or words of wisdom or anything, you can drop it in the chat. But overall, I think it was solid press conference. Good to see these guys kind of put their differences aside and, you know, talk in a cordial, friendly manner. And God, hopefully more politicians can do this. I'll have less to talk about, but it'll be better for the country. All right, guys. I think that's going to be it for today. Keep praying. I'll see you guys later. Let's get back to work. Have a good one.